Live on Monday night, September 16th. And I just want to give you a quick preview of what's coming tomorrow in my Kickstarter. You can go actually online and see the preview here at bixbygrant.com. Hold on, having technical difficulties. There we go. Go see the Kickstarter preview. But tonight, what I'm going to show you is the previous issue that came out a few months ago. Bixby Grant, Private Eye, Fangs Brimstone. It was written by me, was penciled and inked by Gonzalo Martinez, colored by Arthur Hesley, and the backup story was drawn by Gonzalo Ruggieri. And of course, it was all edited by the wonderful Heather Antos. So if you are new to Bixby Grant, Bix is a mummy private eye. This is Diego. He is a rockabilly vampire. And in this first issue, we find out that it's Bix's 123rd birthday. When he became a mummy, it was back in the 1930s, and he is now really old. All of his friends and family are gone. And so on his birthday, he doesn't really like to celebrate. And so he takes a snoop job, as he calls it, so he could get away from it and kind of forget about it. And he kind of hints that there's something else even a little worse than it just being his birthday that it reminds him of, but we don't know quite what it is just yet. So he's investigating a supposedly haunted warehouse. And when he gets there, he finds our friend Diego here is squatting in this place. And he's just kind of jamming on his guitar and rocking out. And Bix knows him. Diego lives in Harbor City along with Bix and works a number of odd jobs and also runs a bunch of different bands. And Bix uses him as an informant from time to time because Diego is kind of plugged in and everybody loves him. So he finds out lots of information that can be useful to a private eye. We also find out here that there's a mayoral election going with a wildly unpopular mayor who's running for another term. Now, Harbor City, where this all takes place, is full of supernatural creatures. So you've got vampires, you've got mummies, we've got werewolves, we've got demons, we've got all kinds of creatures. Harbor City is kind of a mecca for them. And so this mayor promises to get rid of all the supernatural creatures and run them out of town, which is obviously not going to sit well with Diego or with Bix. We get a little flashback here to when Bix first became a police officer back in the 1930s. 1920s. And this is his older brother, Max, who was his kind of his mentor, his idol, and also raised Bix after their parents died. So Bix is just kind of remembering this. And when he snaps back to it, he tries to get Diego to help him find, ask him if there's a ghost or anything here, like the warehouse's owner says there was. But Diego says that, or asks him why he's so grumpy. And so he has kind of a bit of a flashback to 1925 when he was on the beat with his partner and they busted up this cult ritual here that looks like they're going to murder somebody. And so Bix busts in, it's hard to say, foils it and finds out that his brother is actually running this cult. He feels really lost and betrayed and doesn't really know what to do with any of this information. So on the same day, he finds out not only is his brother a cultist, but also a mobster. He was trying to summon a demon to help the local mob take over Harbor City. So that is what's stuck in Bix's craw and why he doesn't really want to celebrate his birthday or be around anybody to remind himself of it. So Diego does mention or decides that he wants to help Bix, which Bix kind of regrets almost immediately. And they do find this ghost. And they find out that it's a poltergeist. Bix offers to help. He knows violence won't help with a ghost, but the ghost is not having it. And so they have to chase it around. The ghost kind of knocks some stuff over. And Diego mistakenly thinks, well, if it's a poltergeist and he can touch things, maybe I can touch him. So he tries to grab him. And hilarity ensues. Eventually, Diego ends up knocking over a set of shelves, and they kind of domino effect and knock over all of them. And even the ghost is like, "Whoops, this doesn't look very good." So afterwards, Bix is trapped under one of the big, heavy steel sets of shelves here, and so he gets an axe, and because he's a mummy, he can just chop off his arm and get out from under it. But what has happened is one of the other shelves has knocked over and unearthed this sewer grate, and the ghost kind of dissipates down into it, and they follow him, and they find that he was a ghost of this person who was, not coincidentally, murdered by these knives that Bix's brother had over 100 years ago in a very similar looking ritual. And so our mystery is afoot, and we're going to have to find out what happens in the second issue, which of course is coming out tomorrow, which is September 17th. Our Kickstarter will begin. We're going to have some special early bird specials where you can get, if you're new to the comic, you can get issue 1 as well as issue 2, and also our original graphic novel called Wolf She Cried. You can also, there's an early bird special for those of you who have issue number 1. You can get issue number 2 with a free fold-out poster with a cover by Dean Coates. And with that issue, you're also going to get the second chapter of Zombie Town, which is our backup story, which I believe I mentioned earlier is illustrated by Gonzalo Ruggieri. It's a very different tone from what Gonzalo Martinez and Arthur do with the first half, the first story, the main story. But I think it really is quite nice, and I love the kind of watercolor ink wash look that it has. I think it matches the tone of the story and shows that Harbor City can be multiple things at once. It can be kind of spooky and scary, and it can also be a little lighter in the story like we have up front here. This story centers around Detective Maritza Ramirez, who is one of the few good cops in Harbor City. Her father, Jorge Ramirez, went missing 20 years ago, and he was a highly revered captain on the police force. And in her spare time, Maritza has been investigating what happened to him. And tonight she got a new lead from somebody who's apparently been out of the country for a long time. And to get that lead, she goes to a zombie fight club, which is literally underground in some old cavern here. And they keep the zombies in this dome and they fight it out and don't bite the crowd. And she finds her informant here, kind of literally drags him kicking and screaming over to the side to get the information out of. He was the last person to see her father alive. And so she gives him that information, and then she calls in the SWAT team and they bust up this ring. So at the end, she ends up driving down to a part of the city that's been fenced off for 25, 30 years. There was a zombie outbreak in this section, and rather than kind of deal with it, they just fenced it off and left everybody for dead. And it's an area of town called Zombie Town. And she has to go in there because that's where her father was last seen. So that's where this issue ends up. And we'll get the next chapter in that story where she actually enters into Zombie Town in issue number 2. One of the other things I want to point out is that we do a letter column in the back of the comic, and that's an exclusive to the comic. We do 2 pages of letters and emails and comments from people who are either on my newsletter or reply to questions on the Kickstarter page. And so I answer the real questions from real readers, which is a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of letter column, and I have been since I was a kid, so it's a lot of fun to do this. These will not appear in the trades. They will only appear in the individual issues. So that's another little kind of bonus you can get by picking up the individual issues as they come out. We do also have a really nice pinup on the back here of the fighting zombies done by Gonzalo, which is a really nice piece. You can see we're looking as if we're inside that fight bubble, and you can see Maritza Ramirez out here along with some of the other spectators here. So that's about it. I just wanted to give everybody a little heads up. I'll be doing some more live streams in the next couple of days to continue to plug this. But I appreciate it if you went to BixbyGrant.com, take a look, maybe sign up tonight for if you click the notify me link, you'll get an email as soon as the campaign goes live, and that way you can take advantage of some of the early bird specials. So thanks for your time, and I'll talk to you again soon. All right, thanks everybody.